Hey guys, welcome back to Real Love Scenario.
Whoa, whoa.
Shout out to all our real lovers out there. Welcome back to the show. What's going
Hi,
on, Rhonda? How
Dre.
you
Hey,
doing?
I'm good. How are
You,
you
you looking
doing?
nice, the braids and the brown. I'm liking it.
Thank
I'm liking it.
you. Thank you so much. I want to, I guess, be a little cute today. I mean, I'm
And,
cute every day, but sometimes I'm just a little more chill. Today, I figured I'd be a little sassy for the people.
I love it. I love it. And I be trying to. Do you match your like Apple Watch bands to your outfit? No.
My face was like, I do have two. I have two bands, a black one and like the off-white one.
Okay.
But I just have a few watches, and so like to me, sometimes the Apple Watch is just not. I don't care
Not
what band you
appropriate.
put on it. Yeah, I don't care what band you put on it.
I'm trying to track my steps and calories, Rhonda, even when I'm out. You know what I mean?
I feel that. I feel that. They have the new thing, which I know is like basically the same price as a Apple Watch, like the Ring. I can't think of what it's called,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
which I think is a nicer, like more fashion forward way to do it. But yeah, sometimes I just take it off. I just put on a regular watch. So I don't
The
have all the
new Apple
fancy.
Watches, which I got, are kind of nice because they have like, and mind you, you can only know this if you are watching us, but I'll be real quick. But they have like the gold trim around it, right? So it's
Hmm.
like kind of goes with it. So you can replace the band. But then if I change, I got my little face, change it over there, it kind of
Yes.
gives a little bit
Yeah. I
more
got
like
the same. I got the same little sitch. I got a few little sassy faces set up. You see my little face there?
I
A
see,
little,
I see.
yeah, a little gold. Let's give it a little something. Give it a
Just so you
little
can switch
something.
it up a little bit.
Yeah, I feel it. And there's no shade. It's just sometimes to me nothing tops a like true watch, like a watch. So
For sure.
today, I'm doing a little hybrid.
Love it, love it, love it.
Hmm.
Well, you look good from a
Thank
friend to a
you.
friend.
Thank you, friend. I
Um,
appreciate that.
no problem, no problem. So we are happy to be back. Shout out to all our real lovers out there. We have a real lover shout out, but I want to shout out a real lover who just wrote in the chat just now.
Hey, Lexia.
Alexia finally was able to catch a live. I love y'all. We love you too.
We love you
We
too,
love
girl.
you too.
Make sure you
Um,
talk, okay? Because you are here and now we expect you to participate in the conversation. So we got some questions for you. You sit tight. I hope you got something to drink or snack on. It's gonna be a good one.
For sure, 100%. But I want to shout out our real lover review for this episode, and this comes from For the Love of Decor and More. 5 days ago, this was good. I haven't seen you guys in a while. Smiley face, grown folk convo. We try to keep it grown and right. I mean, the kids could listen. We had a high schooler wrote in that was talking about,
Mhm.
that young love. But, we try to have these grown folk conversations and keep it good and,
Yes.
keep it motivating and inspiring and
Yeah.
educational, but still entertaining at the same time.
That's right. That's right. That's what we're here for. And it's a good balance. I really believe, and I think we talked about this on that episode. Like, I wish that I had gotten certain advice about dating at 15 and 16. Like, most of the advice we got at that time was like, don't date, don't get
Yeah.
pregnant, don't bring no babies home.
It's almost like laughed at. It's like, I
Yeah,
mean, that ain't nothing real. And even as an
exactly.
older person, I now find myself falling victim to that. If a young person in high school is like, oh, this is happening, I'm like, come
Yeah.
on now. That
Yeah.
ain't going to even last.
Yeah, no, you need solid advice at that age because listen, we grow up and that 15-year-old sometimes be whipping that 30-year-old's ass, be whipping that 40-year-old's ass. And so if we learn some better things at younger ages, we are probably gonna do better for the next generation. So while we do curse a little bit sometimes, I think it's a mostly family friendly show.
For sure, 100%. And if you want to join the Real Lover Gang, please like, subscribe, comment, do all the things that are free to you, but mean a lot to us. They support us, our channel, and keep us going every single day. So we would appreciate that.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Dre, you ready to jump into the scenario?
I am ready. I love these type ones, so I'm good. I'm good.
Let's get into it. This week we hear from a gentleman caller, a young man. Here I go, sounding like an old lady, a
Here
young
I
man.
go.
He says, "Hey, Dre and Rhonda, I want to share my story about my friends with benefits situation that has gotten complicated. For the past 3 months, I've been seeing someone casually, and we have both agreed it would be friends with benefits. Recently, she told me she wants something more serious. Here's the catch: I'm in the middle of my master's program, which takes up most of my time and energy. While I really like her and I enjoy our arrangement, I'm worried that adding a serious relationship to my busy life might be too much and lead to a lot of disappointment and stress. Our Friends with Benefits setup has been a great stress reliever for me during this hectic period. So now I'm torn. Should I try to explore this deeper connection with her, or should I let her go and focus solely on my studies? I want to be honest about my priorities, but I also don't want to hurt her or lose what we have. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my dilemma. Thank you, thank you, thank you for writing in. Thank you.
Thank you for writing in.
Listen, before we jump into it, for our real lovers watching, we want you to jump in the chat and tell us what you think he should do. We'll definitely read your thoughts closer to the end of the episode. But Dre, lovers and friends, right? We all been there, haven't we?
We have all been there before. Yes, we have.
We have all been
Whether
there.
you know it or not.
So true. Damn, that hurt my feelings a little bit. That hurt my feelings a little bit because,
Because
yeah,
you've
when
been in
you
something
don't know and you
knowingly.
find out, damn. Ooh,
We've
mm.
all been there.
We have all been there. And I think that friends with benefits relationships, you know, have a place and time. I don't think that they're necessarily a bad thing. Do you agree?
Not necessarily. I don't think I've even when I think about it in my past relationships of friends with benefits, I don't ever even think that it was really communicated that we are friends with benefits. Like this is our title and this is what we're doing. It was more of like we kind of know what this is. Like we both ain't really serious with this, or communicate to somebody like, hey, I'm not really looking for anything serious right now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like when you tag on the friends on top of it, it kind of gives
Mhm.
in my friend a weird like space in a relationship to it. Because when you think friend, you think of somebody you're not doing anything with, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, it's hard to I don't know, truly be friends, in those situations over time. But I guess we're seeing that right now, and I don't want to jump ahead of myself.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I think, yes, we'll get into how that gets like really complicated. But I do think that when you can do it successfully, when you both are on the same page at the same time, which is rare, right? A lot of times to the point where you just made, where you hurt my feelings a little bit. Sometimes one person is able to actually handle the friends with benefits thing, while the other person, because you are having this physical relationship, the feelings are growing.
For
But I
sure.
think that if you both are really on the same page and this is just where y'all are at right now, the friend part is really just to define like we're not in a
This ain't
relationship.
serious.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is not serious. We're just kicking it. We may date sometimes, we may not. I may just call you and it's just like, hey, you free later? Are you free tomorrow? And you come over, I come over, we have a little, maybe a little conversation, and then we just kind of get down to what we're here to do. And then we go our separate ways. It's no pressure, it's no strings attached. You can do what you want to do, I can do what I want to do. And I think that when two people are really at that station in life, I think it could be helpful, especially if it's someone that you trust. And let's say you're thinking about dating more seriously, but for whatever reason, and I'm not suggesting that you do this, because the mature me is saying that, listen, don't keep sleeping with somebody else when you're trying to actually date for real and with someone else. But
Yeah.
sometimes that's just the reality of the situation. We're not always here to give you like we're here to give you the most mature, sensible, healthy way to approach something. But the reality is we know that sometimes you're just younger, or you're in a station in life where you're like, listen, I need to get my itch scratched. And I'm going to call my friend with benefits to get that itch scratched. And as long as it's safe and respected and everybody agrees, I think that it can be a positive thing. But let's flip the coin and talk about some of the downsides of a friends with benefits situation. Dre, I know that you in your former life, when you was snacking,
I don't
if
know
you
that
knew
man.
if you knew here, go on back and watch some old episodes. Because at a point, Dre is having his full meal at this point. He is a happily
I
married
am. I am
man. He
happy,
is
satisfied. Don't need nothing
satisfied.
else.
Don't need nothing else. But long before he met Bray, he was out here having appetizers and snacks and friends with benefits. What were some of the cons you ran into in those situations? Like, what drove you crazy or drove them crazy?
Um, it's the possible attachment that can come with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, as we know, and I think somebody said in the chat, somebody ends up catching feelings a little harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to some type of disappointment within a relationship, which a lot of times ultimately ends up in the friends with benefits thing not being as fun anymore, because it only works if you guys are really, if you guys really like each other and
Yeah.
really enjoy being around each other. And if it gets to a point to where somebody's catching feelings, then it's not as fun anymore, is it? at those
Yeah.
moments. So that's one of the downsides. Number two is that, like, it can emulate or imitate the feeling of a real relationship, but there will be moments to where you're looking for that in a partner or in somebody, and you might look at your friends with benefits because you guys have been intimate in a space. And the intimacy, as we talk about on this channel, is not just the physical intimacy, it's some of
Yeah.
the conversations that you had that are that foreplay that lead into those wonderful moments of intercourse with one another. But
Mhm.
then when stuff really hits the fan and you need somebody, that person may not be there for you because that's not really the extent of the relationship. It's
Yeah.
for all the good and none of the bad. Essentially, it's true companionship and not partnership.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I would see as a big con, and having lived it myself, is like, oh, this is great, everything is good, but when I need somebody, even though there's a friend in front of it, like, you're not my person, you're not my partner. You could be entertaining somebody else, right? In the time that I need you. And that's perfectly okay because we haven't made any commitment to each other. So that's one thing I know through experience that was really tough to realize, like, oh yeah, this person, even though we do a lot of things to each other, is not here for me.
Yeah, yes, that's it. That is it. For me, when I've been in those types of situations, I agree. I experienced a lot of the same things, but I think I certainly got my feelings hurt as I went into what I thought I could handle, right? I thought, and I appreciate, I will say, the couple of guys in my past where we had that type of relationship that they were honest about. That's all that it was going to be. That's all that they were interested in. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm cool with that too. I remember very distinctively, kind of fresh off of a breakup. It had been probably 6 or 7 months. And I was like, I want to get back out here and have a companion, but I really don't want to get in a relationship. I just want to have a pretty steady person I can kick it with. And so I'm like, I can do this. I'm living my I'm living my best single life.
Yeah.
And what you don't necessarily account for because you don't know, because this person is new to you, is you have no idea what that performance is going to be hitting like, right? Like, you have no idea. And y'all, your girl ran into somebody that was a professional. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, had me all thrown around, literally and figuratively. And that type of chemistry and connection, of course, made me very, like, physically attracted to them. So then I just start becoming more interested in, like, well, I know you said he doesn't want this, but, like, what do you like? What do you do? What do you read? What are you reading right now? Like, where do you work? Like, now I want to start getting to know more about him. And he's just kind of like, what's up? Like, why are you like almost like, why? Like, we just not on that type of time, because I'm just like, well, based on what we be
Rhonda,
doing.
after that session, she in there, take my money,
Bow,
my
bow,
house and my car
bow, bow,
for one
for
hit
one hit
of
of
you.
you.
You can have it all.
Woo! Facts. Okay. You can't take all my money or my cars, but yeah, call me every day, bring it here every day. You know what I'm saying? So that sometimes, which is where we're gonna probably move to next, but the reality is sex is so, it can be so powerful, it can be so overwhelming, and you almost can sometimes get a false sense of connection to someone because of how strong your physical or sexual chemistry can be. And so I underestimated that. I really didn't even take that into account because, again, I really wasn't ready to get into a relationship. But when you think about, okay, I'm physically attracted to this person, for what little bit of time we do spend together, he seems really cool and the sex is amazing. Certainly, let me see if he can actually be a good partner. And it just wasn't on the table.
You know, one thing too that's really a con for it and makes it really challenging
Hmm.
is I always have said this that, you know, people who succeed in life are people who learn how to operate in the gray. The black and the white is very easy, but the gray, learning how to operate in that is
Hmm.
the way to really succeed. But it's really hard. And
Yeah.
I would say that for business and all those things, but in relationships, you probably don't want to be in the gray. And that's kind of what friends with benefits is. And that's kind of a con. If it's black, we're together, cool. White, we're not together, perfect. But if you say we're kind of together and not, it leaves people up into their own interpretation of what that means. And we
Yeah.
talk so much in relationships about defining things. Like before you get in a relationship, define what boyfriend mean, what girlfriend mean, what is love, what is, you know, a relationship, like what is dating. Like we need to talk about what these things are, because based off of your experiences, you might have a
Mhm.
completely different definition of what I have with it. But even in the black and even in the white, if we say we're in a relationship, sometimes we have different definitions of that. If we say we're actually dating seriously and committed, we have different definitions of what that means. Even if we say we're not going to cheat, we have different definitions of what that is. And that's
Yeah.
more black and white. You go
Hmm.
friends with benefits, that's really in the gray because you're
Yeah.
trying to marry both. So we're probably going to have completely different definitions and expectations of what this is. So one of the cons is that you go into it thinking you're aligned, but most of the time you're not. So it's like you thinking this is one thing and they're thinking it's another thing. For you,
Mhm.
you might think it's just sex and that's it. For
Yeah.
somebody else, they're using it as a term to play house without any commitment. So
Ooh.
cooking, cleaning, laundry, all these things, but I just don't want to say you my girl and I don't want to commit to you. So, you know what? I'm just going to do all this, but I'm going to keep my freedom to still leave the door open for somebody else. But that's that
Yes.
gray, right? That's that
Yes.
gray.
Yes, listen, I gotta put this comment up here right now because Ebony is like, yo, she giving you the perfect assist to exactly what you're saying. She said, don't be someone's in the meantime and in between time, because when they start taking life seriously, you're gonna be put into their unserious category. It can be that, like you said, your benefit might be, oh, I'm doing all of these things and I'm doing this stuff, but we don't necessarily have the title. And so that is a part of the benefits. Benefits for them could be you cook and you help keep my house clean, where the benefit for the other person could be, oh, I'm giving you sex. I mean, that's what I thought this was about. So leaving the things undefined are dangerous. And I think, yes, like you said, when you're approaching a serious relationship, we talk about so much on this show having very, which what sometimes people think are like, why do we actually need to talk about that? Like, why do we need to break that down? Because people will interpret things differently all day long. Some people think that sliding in DMs or having interactions with the opposite sex is cheating. No physical contact, no texting off the app, but some people think that is cheating, where
For
someone else
sure.
is like, oh, that's just flirting, that's not a big deal. So not getting these things clarified, to me, honestly, in any type of relationship, whether it is a FWB or you're actually approaching something serious, I think even understanding how important sex is to some people, it's very necessary. Like, can you really handle this, or what do you expect to happen if we decide to start having a sexual relationship? What are the expectations you have of me now that we're doing this, even though we're saying we're not going to be together? But what are your expectations from me? Because I'm the person, like, at that time I felt like, well, we're not together, but I do think it's appropriate for you to, like, see how I'm doing sometimes, or like, buy me a drink occasionally. he needed to know that because he could very well be like, I don't think I have to do any of that stuff. I figured I could just call you, meet up with you, no date, no drinks, no nothing, and we just do what we do. So yes, I can't say it enough, and you hit the nail on the head for sure. With like, we need to have conversations about exactly what this means, exactly what that means, and exactly what we're going to do and what we're not going to do.
And one thing that you brought up that made me think, and people who are in relationships, this probably applies to you with your partner, so you need to understand this as well, is
Mhm.
that there could be friends with benefits without the sex. Like that is a real thing. And when I think about it, I'm like, dang, I had some college things like that to where it was like we
Mhm.
weren't having sex. Do my laundry though. They'll come over and do this, give me a
Yeah.
massage. They'd come
Mhm.
over, help me with homework, like all these different things I was benefiting from. I don't know what their benefit for me was. Maybe it was just my presence or just being there or whatever
Yeah.
that might have been, but I was benefiting as if they were somebody who was in partnership with me as I was doing the different things in my life, even though we
Mhm.
weren't having sex. So sometimes
Yeah.
you have to look at that because I'm sure there are a lot of people in relationships who they might have a friend that they're benefiting from way beyond what a friend should be doing if they're already in a relationship with somebody. Oh man. Like listen, if
Little
somebody
bit.
offers to do things, you don't turn it down. Like I played football, I was busy, I had a lot of things going on, and look at me defending myself. No, but yeah, I had a dog, so sometimes I needed somebody to watch my dog. So it was just
Mhm. And
people
you
that
wasn't giving
offer.
them nothing but a little smile and a wink.
Some people.
Yeah, so got it. Listen, got it. Well, that is a perfect segue, honestly, into like the next topic, which is doing what feels good versus doing what is good, right? Like that's a real thing, whether we're talking about dating, relationships, or like fitness and health. Like I think about that in so many different ways. Like being on a health journey as you are, as I am. Listen, it's times where like doing what feels good is like staying in the bed a little later, eating the ice cream at 10 o'clock at night. It's eating the extra large order of fries instead of the size that actually comes with the small meal you're supposed to be having. But doing what is good requires so much discipline and actually fighting those urges and saying, you know what, I know that this is going to feel good or taste good, but it's temporary because the ultimate is not necessarily what I want. And I'm not going to lie, when I read his submission, that was one little thing that like plucked me a little bit because I think when you really read it, right, he says, she wants something serious. And I basically can't give her that because I'm in the middle of my master's program. But this is a stress reliever, and this type of dynamic is working for me. So it feels like he's very much stuck on doing what feels good versus what actually is good. What do you think about that?
I think it's appropriate to have the right balance of things.
Hmm.
But going back to what we had said before, defining things is such an important thing. That's why I feel like, don't you know how there are age limits on certain items that you buy or
Yeah.
even on movies or things you consume? It's like at this age, we consider you um, mature enough to consume this content. I feel like Friends with Benefits is that at a very young age, it's hard to really fathom or wrap your mind around that because you're so emotional, you're new to relationships.
Hmm.
Everything is just kind of just new in your world versus
Yeah.
I haven't done this in adulthood, but I could imagine in my mind that if I were to be out there again and wanted this type of setup, I would come at it completely different. Not only because I'm more mature, but because I feel like the women are more mature. I'm old enough to know that women don't just want relationships, that some women just want to have sex, right?
Right.
I'm old enough to know that if somebody doesn't want to have that setup, they can speak up for themselves. But there are a lot of people who may want to have that setup, and it's better off for me to communicate that first versus actually waiting or being manipulative. That's something I would have did when I was younger. So I feel like when you're
Yeah.
older, it can bode well because you both maybe might be at that state of like, yeah, I'm fine with the setup. I got a job. I got this going on. I got that going on. Maybe I got two kids. Like this is fine for me in the moment. It's a nice stress relief. We're adults. We can just talk this
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah.
I think the balance is right, but defining what things are is going to be important. And it reminds me of what they talk about budgeting, like budgeting with money. Like budgeting isn't something that restricts you. Budgeting is giving you permission to spend your money, right? So it's
Mhm.
like when we look at what's bad for us and what's good for us, a lot of times we consume so much bad because we don't have a plan around when we're consuming the bad, right? It's just like, hey,
Oh.
I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and no really structure on why you're doing it, when you're doing it, what the parameters are you doing it. But if you go throughout your life and you say, in this season, this is what it is, I'm gonna make sure I communicate 100% to this person. Like, I don't have the time for a relationship. However, I still have sexual desires. So
Mhm.
I am finding a situation in this moment that works for me, right?
Mhm.
And I'm defining that and I'm letting the person know this is how I feel. This is where I'm at right now. I'm not really looking for anything more. I really want any more. Maybe it can work under those circumstances, but you're almost in that sense giving yourself the framework to do that because you've set everything else up to define like where you are in your life.
I love that you use the budgeting metaphor because restrictions and discipline is actually there to give you certain freedoms. That's really the point of it. Again, using fitness and health as a great reference point. You work out or you eat more healthily more often so that you can give your body some room to have those quote unquote cheat days, or you focus on your health a lot more often so that you create muscle memory and your body can snap back from certain experiences. It's why sometimes you look at certain women, especially in the celebrity world, where it's like, oh my gosh, her body just seemingly snap back, but that woman probably was already in a very strong health routine pre-pregnancy, likely during pregnancy, which is why her body was able to. I'm not suggesting that either way is right or wrong when it comes to women in pregnancy, but that's kind of that. Like I know that sometimes Bree looks at you like, really, Dre? Like you can basically half workout and still look amazing and look great and stay strong. And
I
she's
actually
like,
got you on that too. I'm tired of being body shamed.
okay,
And
sorry.
I be looking at Brie like, is this a bad thing or good thing? What you want? You want me not to look like this? And
No, it's a
she's
good
like,
thing. That's what I was getting to, because when you were so much younger, like you were an athlete and a hardworking
mm-hmm.
athlete. And so a lot of
It's
your body
residuals.
is absolutely. And you're also still working to maintain it. So I think it's the same thing. When you don't have clear communications, when you don't have parameters or borders or boundaries around what you're doing, it can easily get out of whack. It can easily get you can easily find yourself in a very, very, very unhealthy dynamic because you're not making sense of what you're doing. And honestly, the truth of the matter is, this is sometimes when you have to be honest with yourself that just because it might feel good to have a booty call or a friend with benefits, that is probably just not something you need, period. Not just with the person who can't handle it. That just might not be something that you need right now. It just it, as much as you might feel like it's a stress reliever, it is now a bit of a distraction because you don't know what to do in the situation. You're writing into us, which we appreciate, but this is now serving as a distraction because you decided to enter into something with someone that you can't control. You can only control you. You can't control her. You can't control how her feelings are going to grow or anything like that. And so, what you thought was just something quick and casual and easy is now in fact bringing you some level of stress. And so I think we have to sit with ourselves around decisions that sometimes feel like they might be good to really determine if they actually are good for us, you know?
100%.
So do you think that people should decide what's best for someone else? Like if you're in a dynamic with someone and you're like, it just doesn't feel like you can manage this, I'm gonna go ahead on and make the decision for you, or should you more so approach it and say like, hey, I'm feeling like you can't handle this. Can you handle this? And actually try to take their word for it. Which one do you think is better?
That's a tough situation to be in. Because
Yeah.
everyone is an adult in this
Right.
situation, and you have the opportunity to make your own decisions.
Yeah.
But I think there may be some circumstances to where you just have to take yourself out of the race. Like you have to forfeit, you have to throw in a white flag, because even though somebody else may be okay with the risk, I guess, of what might happen if you move forward in a certain situation, if you have experienced it and you know the outcome, or you're trying to preserve something, like you're trying to preserve a relationship, because some people may not necessarily care about that. Like you might look at it and say, I might bow out because I want to preserve what version or piece of the friendship might still actually be left. You know what I mean? To where
Mhm.
that other person is more willing to risk the friendship and put it all on the line and doesn't really care what might happen. So that those might be times to where you back out for somebody and decide what's best in the long haul. But I'm always I think a good rule is, if you know if it comes from a place of malice, right? If
Hmm.
you're doing something and you know it comes from a place of malice and you have bad intentions, not
Hmm.
necessarily you're a bad person, but you know you're purposely manipulating, you're purposely misleading, you're purposely doing things that are not the right things, that's probably when you should take yourself out and just be like, listen, this is just not the best situation. I know what you want, and I know I could probably still get what I want from you, but I would have to go about it in a way that just
Yeah.
wouldn't be the best for your mental and you moving forward and everything like that. So I take myself out. But if you are coming from a genuine place, even in this situation, like I really like you, care about you. This is just
Mhm.
a great stress reliever for me. I just have a lot going on like on my plate, and I just can't do a full relationship right now. And I'm not going to half do it or take the pressure of, oh, you can kind of have do it now, but then once that's over, here comes, like, I don't even want that pressure on me. Like I just
Yeah.
am not ready for that, and this is what it
Mhm.
is. And then that person can react however they want to react. If they want to still continue where they want to continue, then we can continue. If you want to choose to leave, then it's up to you to leave, because at a certain point we all have to make our own mistakes, learn our own lessons in order to grow and mature. So who's to say that that's that person's lesson? If they choose to stick around and it doesn't work, then that's a lesson learned for them, so that they know in the
Mhm.
future, right, to not pursue something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and listen, while I do agree with you that we are all adults, I probably err more on the side of, if you really can tell, if certain conversations are happening, certain behaviors are happening, the person is becoming, again, specifically in this situation, the person is becoming more clingy, or like what I was doing when I was in what I thought I could handle, and now I'm trying to figure out who he is as a human and not just what he can offer me in the bedroom. I do think in some ways, even though it may not be our responsibility to make a decision for another adult, I think it's something that is respectful, and I think it's a courtesy to say, like, listen, like you said, I could keep doing this with you, and I could take your word for it that you can handle it, but just based on what's happening, based on the things that you're saying and doing, I just think it's best that we stop. You know what I mean? Before it gets into a dangerous place. And by dangerous, I mean like explosive feelings. And as much as we want to be mature and go to therapy these days and do the right things, some people's emotions still very much drive their decisions. Some people are emotionally irrational, and I just don't think anybody should try to proceed with doing something with while the person saying, "Oh, I can handle it," but you can tell in their behavior that they can't handle it, but you keep doing it. You run the risk of that person, clearly you can tell they don't they don't know what they can and can't handle. That's, even though they saying it, you could tell in their behaviors they can't handle it. You run the risk of them just blowing up. And I'm not suggesting that they are right. What I'm suggesting is you don't need that in your life. You don't need that
I'm
car
thinking
egging and the car getting key. You don't need any of that.
100%. I'm thinking of the old me at one point in my life, which is not the man I am today.
Hmm.
But it used to always be, we used to always say, it's like, listen, if you don't do it, somebody else gonna do it. So, like, because if somebody's in that mindset, it's like they haven't learned the lesson yet. So
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't do it, somebody else just gonna do it and they're gonna learn the lesson with somebody else, right? It's
Yeah.
like honesty is the courtesy, right? That's the courtesy of being like, hey, this is where I'm at. I ain't trying to hide it. This is how I feel. This is what I think about things. And honestly, the person, I think once you're honest, the person who's dealing with them, and if they know what they want and they still see that you're being too intense, they will probably not probably, but they should leave the situation based off of this is getting uncomfortable for me. Forget
Yeah.
about you. Like, I don't want something and you still catching feelings, you calling me, like, this is getting uncomfortable for me. So I'm
Yeah.
going to piece out of this situation. But I feel
Yeah.
like, you know, in adulthood, the honesty is the courtesy. And we have to learn the lesson. It's like if I tell you honestly what I feel, and you still choose to move forward and want to pursue and do all that, it's like at some point you're gonna learn that lesson because
Mm-hmm.
until you realize that's not the right thing to do. So whether it's with me or with the next person or with the next person, you're gonna learn that lesson because in your mind, the pushing forward is worth the risk until you learn that it may
Mm-hmm.
not be worth the risk. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I could try to save you from this situation, but I did my job by being honest and saying this is what I want to do. It's kind of like we talking property management with you and me. Grown people act like they didn't read their lease agreement, like you ain't signed on the paper. Hey, you agreed to this.
Yeah.
We laid it out. This is what it is. That's the courtesy we extend. I'll explain it to you. I'll walk down, check. Yeah, this is what it is. Once you agree to that, whatever repercussions happen, even if you don't like those terms, you can't say it wasn't communicated to you. I feel
Right.
like that's the courtesy, and then you got to learn your lesson in that. And if you learn your lesson, great. But if you don't, then you're going to keep going in that cycle anyway. So me sidestepping the situation ain't changed nothing because you headstrong and determined that you still going to go down that path no matter what happens.
That's it. That's it. I don't I don't disagree with you. I think, this is probably just a sign of age/maturity for me at this point because I listen, 15 years ago, I'd be like, listen, I said what I told you. Now, if you want to keep on, you're gonna learn today, as they say. But now I do feel so like, oh gosh, I don't want like bad energy to come back to me. Like I can tell.
But
And I
again, that's less about them and more about you
yes, it's
and
more about
your
me.
feeling and
Yes, it's
like
more about
what you
me.
know is going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's like, that's still not necessarily looking out for them. That's looking out for you.
Yes, yes. By looking out for myself, I'm hopefully saving them from heartache with me. Now, if you want to keep going and being the boo boo the fool with another person, cool. But I don't want that for me. And I most certainly am at an age now where I don't want stress or drama or you popping up or I've been there and I don't want anything to do with it, honestly, because I've been there because I was just trying to proceed past it. Like I know that he a little crazy, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like, nah, like not today. Today, I'm like, no, no. I'm scared to give up my address even to the places I order stuff from because I'm
So
like,
question
listen,
for
man.
you,
Yes.
with those experiences,
hmm
do you wish, because I can answer them too, do you wish that they didn't happen or you just handled them differently?
I wish that I handled them differently. And it was really just one person where, like, I knew that this was not what we agreed to. And I knew that emotionally it was getting too far gone. And I just kept engaging. Like it just kept going. So yes, I wish I just would have cut it off because by lingering and letting it go on and on and on, it just made it bad for the both of us. And honestly, we probably could have been cool if I had cut it off at an appropriate time. Today, wouldn't look at him twice. If I saw him in the room, I was turn around the other way. Like
Danger.
nope. Yeah, yeah. Like I just because it just went too far,
Yeah,
emotionally it went too far. It became too toxic. So I just wish it was handled differently.
got you.
Yeah, I try not to live with regrets. I try to figure out the lesson from every situation, and even in that one the lesson was you got to know when to say no and you got to know when to cut it off.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of regrets. Like a lot of
Dre
regrets in
said, I
life.
got a lot of regrets.
That's what people always be like, I don't regret nothing. Yeah, I regret a lot of
No,
things. I was just
I
too
do have
stupid.
some
I was
regrets.
just too stupid at that
Hmm.
time to know better. If I knew
Yeah,
better, I would have did better. But it's like, yeah, it's some things I wish I would have did a lot differently, and it would have
yeah,
had me in a much better situation.
for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Now I'm about to get on a quick little soapbox, Dre,
Okay.
because I am struggling with why today, more than ever, do we hear so much of, I chose my career or my education over love, or I need to focus on what I'm doing professionally and I can't focus on love, because he talks about this, right? He's saying that he likes this person and he actually would consider her for a more serious relationship, but he just happens to be in the middle of his master's program and doesn't feel like he can commit to really getting to know her on a serious level. And listen, on one hand, I get that, because you never want to show up saying you're going to do something for someone or be something to someone and you can't, you can't do that. But I'm also on this soapbox like, why does this piece of duality seem to be such a struggle for so many people? Like, you can't actually pursue your degree and have a girlfriend. You can't actually start a new business and start a relationship and make both of them work and cut out time for both. That irritates me so much. And I think also because I have friends, I'm looking at one of them right now on this podcast, who did it all at the same time. Who did it all at the same time. Now, I think you knew you were ready to be a husband, but I think you had to learn along the way how to truly be a husband. And you probably in some ways are still learning that. You're still figuring that out while actually in the role. But you were starting a new business and starting a new relationship, and you were making so many transitions and continue to, and it all worked out. So do you feel like it's like a front, or like, is there some validity to this? Because I'm getting a little tired of everyone acting like they have to pick one or the other.
That's a great question, by the way. And you have a reason to be on your soapbox about it, because I do get that.
Yeah.
I think there's a few different ways and perspectives to look at this. So
Hmm.
I'll start with one that's from a male's perspective, which I think there can be 100% validity to this, right?
Okay.
And it just depends on what somebody values, how somebody was raised, what their expectations are of relationships, and what they believe the expectations are of them. For instance, if I'm a man, I envision that in order to get the best possible options for a partner,
Hmm.
I have to reach a certain level of success and security.
Hmm.
While I'm in school, that's not the top of where I can be.
Yeah.
So in this moment, yes, I'm still busy, but also I could be settling at a level that I'm not, and in a sense, selling myself short of the options that I do have available by getting in this early,
Yeah.
versus waiting until I start to use my degree, excel in my career, gain financial success, gain success in my career. Then my options become more available. So some of it may be in a sense of, like you said, not what would you say, not being
Like
somebody who's like
someone who's
my
just so locked in.
yeah, like somebody who, it could be one of those situations where it's like, I'm so locked in, I'm so busy. But I think another thing that is valid is, like, as men, there are so many expectations. You listen out in the world, you need to have this, you need to be able to provide that. I ain't going 50-50. I need to have all these things that I'm able to provide and bring to the table, and I'm not at that level yet. So once I get to that point, then we can start having conversations of what this whole relationship looks like. Because even at this moment in my life, right, masters, might got student loans, maybe working a job. The dynamic of the relationship is different, and different from how I may want it to be when I'm actually in a relationship versus
Mhm.
when I become, somebody who's able to put my masters to work and earn a little bit. And like I said, provide that security, then the dynamic of the relationship looks a lot different at that point too. So that could be a thing from just a man's perspective, which I think is a valid feeling based off of how society views men and what women typically say they want from men, that this is too early in the process for me to be tying my tying my anchoring down to this one person, when in the future I could have way more options because of where I have reached in my life. So that's a valid perspective that I can see from a man's point of view. Can you do both things? Of course you can, but you first have to first one of those things is you have to feel like that person is somebody you can't pass up.
Yeah.
Like, this is too good of a deal, right? We've all bought things, got things that we thought was like, I probably shouldn't be getting this right now, but this deal seems so sweet. Like, I can't miss out on this, right? I can't
Mhm.
not move forward with this, because what if I, drag my feet and then I look back and it's gone? And I'm
Yeah.
like, dang, like that was it. That was the thing I was looking for, but I was scared, or I was nervous, or I didn't want to take the risk, or I had too much going on at the time, so I didn't do it. And now that thing is gone and there's no going back to it. So I feel like that was part of, some of my decision making and coming to it. Is like, I met this amazing person and I had this vision in my head of how I was going to live my life and what I was ultimately going to do and my career path and all that. But then when you meet somebody, you're like, wow, like, I mean, I could pass this person up, but this person seems like, you know, somebody I shouldn't pass up, regardless
Yeah.
of the circumstances. So then, you move forward and you adjust your life to include that person in it.
Yeah.
But that's part of relationships. I always tell people, is like, this is the hard parts, right? Like,
Mhm.
these things that you're trying to figure out and navigate, like, some of your seasons happen at different times in relationships. And I want
Mhm.
people to understand that. My cousin always said, it's like, he talked to a married person and they said it's like football seasons or sports seasons, that when somebody is married for 30 years, we give them a hand clap and stand up, because there were some, 14 and 2 seasons, there was
Yeah.
some 12 and 4 seasons, but there was some 2 and 10 seasons, and
Right.
some 1 and 15 seasons. But
Mhm.
some of those seasons come earlier than later, right? Some people
Yeah.
have their bad seasons or good seasons in the beginning or the end. So it's like, my wife and I, when we started dating, we moved in together after like 3 months of dating. We started a business together 3 months into dating, and lived in 552 square feet and weren't having sex. Like, I feel like a lot of the reasons that we don't have as much problems now is because we dealt with so much in the beginning.
Mhm.
Imagine infusing all that with somebody you don't really know like that. Like,
Mhm.
all that in the beginning, then we started to get better, so where now it's like, oh, this is cool, like, we good now, like, life is easier now, we don't worry about this, we don't worry about that, to where I feel like some people run into those type of seasons 5 years in, 6 years
Mhm.
in, to where things are good, they're easy, when you first meet, and then it's like, then we hit that rough patch. But something like this is like, yeah, you're gonna have seasons to where you working like crazy, and that person just gonna have to understand, like, hey, I'm in this season of grinding and working and trying to take care of things for you and the family. And you may not see a lot of me in this season. Just
Mhm.
because it comes in the beginning doesn't mean that that's something that's going to be the whole relationship.
Forever.
But that's
Yeah.
part of, if you say you want to be in a relationship with somebody, that's part of working through it. Is like, yeah, it's going to be times where it's going to be you busy, I'm busy. We may not see a whole bunch of each other, and we got to figure out how to navigate that space.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a perspective that is valid and worth considering. But you made a lot of really strong points for exactly why I'm an advocate that you can actually do both and have both. And again, if the only barriers that you're presenting is your station in life, right? It's just like where you are in life. It's not that you don't want a relationship. It's not that you don't want to put forth the effort to be in a relationship, but you just believe like, I'm a student right now, right? Like if he's a traditional aged master's degree student, he's in his 20s, somewhere maybe mid or late 20s. Even if, he's a little older than that. I think that even in my own life, like this is something that I don't know if it's a regret, but I more so look back at it and wish, right, that I had met, or that God had brought the person that I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with to me at that time. That brought him to me when I was in college, when I was a lot younger and I didn't have as much, because you know who I was dating around that time? Guys who didn't have that much. None of us really had much of anything, right? Like we were all students and trying to figure out our lives and figure out what we were going to do with our careers. And so I think that there's so much more benefit. I'm not suggesting that love can't be found later in life, because I've found it later in life and I'm going to find it again later in life. But it becomes so much more difficult because now you do have to consider all of these additional factors, right? Like, where are you in life? What do you do? Do you have your own things? What's your career like? Do you go to therapy? Like, nobody was asking me about therapy when I was at Morgan State. Like that wasn't, partly because of the time I was living in. I was at Morgan, but also just because we were kids, quote unquote. And what was really important was, are you working toward a future? I dated my college, my boyfriend when I first entered college was also in school, and I knew what he wanted to do. I knew he was in college to get a degree to ultimately become a lawyer. And I was in college because I was trying to get a business degree because I wanted to get into marketing and didn't want property management where I landed, but I wanted this corporate America job. And we were there doing that together. No one understood the struggle of staying up and studying for tests more than I did. We were having to do that, have that same experience together. I also
Mhm.
think that sometimes we rob people of the opportunity to actually support us through these transitional times in our lives. Like, I don't know if she's a student too. I have no idea. I have no idea where she is in life. Maybe she's older. Maybe she has more going on and he feels like I can't offer anything to her. But I think sometimes you rob people of the potential opportunity to actually be okay in understanding that, like, you are in your master's program, and to go up for one degree is an accomplishment. But to go up for a second one says that you are really in pursuit of something good for your life. I don't think, unless you're 40 something years old like myself, or you're 50 something years old like myself, I don't think any younger woman is going to look at that like you don't have anything going on for yourself. Not as a student, not as a actual master degree student. Like, I don't think so. So I get it. I'm not arguing that
Yeah.
the thought process is wrong. I just think that, how do you know that she wouldn't be able to take a chill pill or be like, listen, he's in school right now. Like, I can't expect date night 2 nights a week when he's got this heavy coursework so that he can get this master's degree. I have to relax and be more reasonable about where he is in life.
Oh, I mean, that's easy because he don't want to be with her. That ain't got nothing to
Boom,
do with it ain't got
boom.
nothing to do with that. Like, I
That was my
mean,
next point. That was my next point.
that to answer that specific question, that's because he don't
Yeah.
want to be with her.
Yeah.
But earlier we were talking about before we tape. I said the free trial ran out, and basically, I feel like he had that moment where he got to put his card information in, and he liked the service,
Yeah.
but he like, I ain't trying to pay for this joint. But if that's the only way I could get it, then I ain't signed up for the annual plan. I'm just
Right.
gonna do the
I just
monthly
wanted a
joint.
little week to week, the little month to month.
Let me get a little month to month plan, and
Right.
so I could cancel anytime, cancel my subscription at any point. Like, I ain't trying to, but if I got to could do that to continue a little bit, then I'll put my card information in. But the thing is that, like, I mean, I know she didn't write in, but I know he probably don't know this, and I'll let him know, because sometimes women make a mistake and think guys consciously know that they don't want you. Sometimes people are just figuring it out, right? They're
Mhm.
just like trying to navigate their feelings, and until you make them think of a future, they may not even be thinking about a future. So they're contemplating, oh, I never even thought about that because that's never what this was. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Like, I never approached it from that way. So I never really thought about it that way. Right.
Mhm.
So he may not even know, but consciously, I'm gonna tell you, brother, you don't want her right now. Because the thing is that we as humans are emotional beings and not beings of logic. I've talked about that on this show before.
Yeah.
Logical things are like computers,
Mhm.
calculators. You ask a calculator 100 times, 1 plus 1 is going to say 2. 100 times, all the time in a row. You ask a person 100 times what 1 plus 1 is, about by the 10th time, they're going to be like, why you keep asking me what 1 plus, you want to hear 3,
Mhm.
4? Because we're emotional beings. We're not machines. And I'm gonna tell you something. And Rhonda, you probably experienced this. When I say we're emotional beings, it's hard to fight our strong feelings, like feelings of anger, right? Feelings of sadness, feelings of happiness. If somebody is feeling overwhelmingly joyful or happy or at peace with you when they're with you, they not it's going to be very hard to fight that feeling and say no to it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you are interacting with somebody and you're wondering why they're not committing, or you wondering why, oh, they seem perfect, or this situation seems great, I don't get why they won't commit to me, or they won't, want to do this further. The answer is right there. If there was an overwhelming emotion behind it that made them feel like, this is amazing for me too, this is something I don't want to ever stop, this is something that I want for the rest of my life, like you almost have to be superhuman in your like control of your emotions to fight against that feeling, to
Right.
say no, 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 I'm busy, no, 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 I can't, no, 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 I'm just not where I want to be. Like when that feeling is overwhelming, you're like, how do I make this work? No different than drug addicts, dopamine hits. Like, how do I still
It's
make this work
undeniable. It's
with
undeniable.
everything else that I have going on? And that's probably
Mhm.
the main thing that my situation personally that I dealt with a lot of other men that I know who are married in their situation is like, oh yeah, this feeling with you is like a completely different feeling of euphoria and joy that trigger my emotions in a completely different way, that no matter what I got going on, I'm gonna figure out a way to make this make sense. If
That's
that's
right.
not happening for you, you haven't triggered that emotion in that person.
Mhm.
There
Mhm.
may be a feeling that they have, but it's not that feeling of, there's a difference between fiending chocolate cake versus I wanted a green smoothie today, right? That's
Right.
like that's a little different. Some is more addictive while the other one is
Mhm.
like, ah, that was like a nice little refreshing thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes. Yes, exactly. No, I mean, it's undeniable, and I think that's just the truth of the matter. Like, nothing would stop you. You would honestly figure it out. That's why I keep saying, if it's not a matter of like your trauma or something inside of you that you believe you would damage this person by being with them, if that's not your hesitation and it's just the things you've got going on in your life, I just think it's an excuse more than anything, because even your mindset being like, "Oh, I could meet more people later." Even if that is a thought, like you have a person in front of you, but you're like, I could, but what if there's better out there? Here's newsflash: there is. Newsflash. Just assume that there is actually a better looking option, potentially a smarter option, a richer option, a more beautiful option out here in the world. So if you are more so focused on what could be versus what is versus what you have in your hands, then yes, this person is just not someone that you want. Like when it is what you want, you lock in on it. You're not going to let it pass you by. And that goes for most things. So if it goes for shoes in the store, a car that you really want, a sale on da 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 da, you will figure out how to get that thing. So I don't want any real lover, man or woman, to be on here and not think that when it comes to love and dating, it's not the same approach. It is most certainly the same.
I do think that men have somewhat more of a luxury when it comes to waiting it out for more options than maybe women might have. I do think like just being real with it. Like I think like
Wait, I've
yeah, I think
lost you. I
men,
can't hear you.
you can't hear me at all.
It's me.
Oh, okay. Um well, I'll talk to the chat until you can hear me, but I do think that men can have a little bit more of a runway when it comes to it, because I remember an article that Rhonda actually sent me at one point, and she has said that the article has said that, or the article was titled "Why You Shouldn't Date a Man Past a Year," and basically the article was saying what men value in women and what women value in men. And what it said men value in women is the ability to be able to reproduce, the ability, beauty and looks. That's essentially primarily what happens to men. And women, as you age, you lose that thing that men typically desire. But in men, what women value is security, the ability to be able to provide. And as men get older, they gain that, so they become more attractive. So that's why I said, when speaking with Rhonda, that I think there is a difference when men are dating versus women dating, that men have a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of say no to some things earlier on in their lives as they're growing and gaining, or moving up in their career, versus women at times, because it can be a little bit more challenging for them.
For sure. Well, listen, I want to jump into some of the comments. So I'm gonna put them up because before we give our final piece of advice, which I feel like we pretty much did, I do want to share what some of the real lovers say he should do. So Courtney says, be honest and upfront. Tell her how you feel. If she's really into you, she should understand. Communicate in the beginning. It'll help you in the long run. We have a comment here from Shyrock. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Sounds like he isn't quite ready. So be honest and focus on your studies. If it's meant to be, the timing will align. Let's see. Francesca says it all kicks off as a convenience until somebody's feelings are crushed. Very true. Friends with benefits can get really tricky. And
Do you
Ebony
know?
says friends with benefit. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can read Ebony's.
Ebony says friends with benefits is never going to end well. There's always someone that gets emotional and catches feelings in the end. They may act like everything is cool at first, but second part is, but as soon as someone finds someone they are actually interested in and actually wanting to be serious with them, someone is going to get hurt in the end. All really, really, really valid points here. I think it can be really tricky. So, Dre, any final thoughts to him on how he should maneuver this situation?
Let me put this back up to make sure I know what my man's final question was. Should I try to explore the deeper connection with her, or should I let her go and focus solely on my studies? I want to be honest about my priorities, but I also don't want to hurt her or lose what we have. I say just be honest. You don't want to be in a relationship, so don't do that. Like, you don't want to be, like, the fact that you, like, I basically, like I said, you trying to figure out if you want to put your card information in to keep the the same service because you was getting a free trial. Don't put your card information in and get locked up in that if you know that's not what you want. Just communicate and say, like, hey, this is where I'm at, this is how I feel about things, and extend that courtesy of saying where you really are. Because, maybe sometimes people, want something regardless of what you say. But sometimes when you communicate things, people adjust their expectations at that point. Like, she could want that, but then once you communicate that's not what you want, she could be like, oh, well, that's not a thing with this person, right? So I'm going to adjust my expectations now to know, like, that's not what this is. I tried it, I put it out there, it was cool. And some people are mature enough to do that. And I feel like a lot of us do that in other parts of our lives. I know when there might be a sexual involvement or things going on, that could be very tough to do because there's emotions tied to it. But you'll be surprised if you're honest with people, um, how they'll react, and that they could easily correct and just be like, oh, okay, I threw it out there, didn't work, but I kind of like what we have too, and I don't want to mess that up. I'd rather have that versus nothing. So yeah, let's just keep doing this.
And I love it. You listen. I love when you just put a real good bow and pin on it, just like that, like so, like that. The only thing that I would echo and essentially add is I think just in general you should focus on your studies, not even as it relates to her, it just sounds like this just isn't a time for you to be having a friend with benefits, whether it's her or someone else. That if you do feel this committed to your master's degree program and you can't find the duality in developing love while also pursuing your career by way of your education, I just think you should just chill until you're done. Like, don't even get back into this situation, because the reality is sex is powerful. It is strong. It can skew our emotions. It can make us feel a lot more into a person than we actually truly are into them. And that's likely what she's experiencing, which is why she changed her mind on the friends with benefits thing. Get you a new stress reliever, working out, playing basketball,
So you tell them to
something.
cut it off.
Huh?
You tell them to cut it off.
Listen, do something else, buddy. Do something else. And
Wow.
I agree, it's a
Okay.
great stress reliever, but do
With
something
her
else.
or
Do
just
something that
with
doesn't involve
anybody?
another person like that.
With her or just in general at all?
No, no, just leave it alone.
All of it, not just her.
No.
Okay. I'm just
Jason.
saying, like, I've been in college. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know how
Yeah.
realistic that. I don't know. It's like
Listen, that's my final, and I'm sticking to it.
I got time to mature.
Yes, I'm being mature. I'm trying to be mature. I really am trying to be mature. I get it. Listen, I get it more than y'all even want to know. You really want to talk, slide in my DMs, slide in my DMs. I get it more than you know, but it just is, sometimes it's not worth the hassle. It's just not worth the hassle, especially because, like I said, look, take it from me. Take it from whatever you call me, sis, auntie, even though I don't like auntie. Sis, auntie, friend of your head. You don't know what's on the other side of those benefits. And sometimes those benefits are more than you can handle physically. Sometimes they're more than you can handle mentally. And you never know what you lost if you never had it. So if you can't manage it, just leave it alone. Those are my 2 cents. So listen, we
I will
appreciate.
say that
Oh, sorry.
I will say that I haven't, outside of, I've only seen friends with benefits last maybe beyond a year or a few months in two situations. One is with a married person, and that, because it's like, where am I going? Where are you going? That type of thing. It still can get messy, right? But typically the lines are automatically drawn for you. But that's not a good situation you want to be in. And second is the not we really friends, but like we were friends, but kind of every time we see each other, we kind of do a thing and then we kind of go on with our business. Like there ain't really a true day-to-day connection with that. Like if you guys texting, every day, y'all in a relationship for real. Y'all just ain't got a title. That's all. So if you're in a relationship with a title and basically she want the title, that's a completely different thing. Y'all ain't friends with benefits. Y'all in a relationship for real.
Dre Smith has spoken, ladies and gentlemen. He has spoken. Well, listen, we appreciate you, my guy, for writing in. We really, really do. We hope we were able to help you. Listen, if you have a real love scenario you want to write into us, head over to our website and submit your story. We love, love, love helping you, even if it's through a little bit of tough love and some tough talking. We also have an amazing community, and we would love for you to join us. So there's more information about the community on our website. Please tap in. We connect just about daily in the community, and in so many different ways you can connect with us beyond the shows. Also, of course, follow us on social media. I'm at Ronnie Cakes.
As Dre Smith.
And at Relationship Restored. We'll see you next time.
Peace, y'all.
Bye, lovers in the chat.
Enjoy y'all selves. Let me in the stream.